The Florida Gators have done a better job recently in setting themselves up for future success.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Happy Thursday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country, New York Giants on SI.com. And also find our Dynasty modes with Whole Nine Sports, WHOLENINE Sports on YouTube. We've got Florida, Nevada, and a team builder. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. And when I say that the Florida Gators have done a better job or done a good job of setting themselves up for future success, I mean that from, the building blocks time. If you don't know what the building blocks are, prepare to be a better fan, a smarter fan now. Thomas Dimitroff, former general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, who I know a lot of you probably like, because I feel like we've got a lot of Falcons fans and Braves fans listening. I hate the Braves. But Thomas Dimitroff was a longtime general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, and he had a thought process when setting the team up. It was, you want to have a key player, a franchise player at the premium positions, the pillar positions. Okay? Those pillar positions are considered the most important parts of a team, the most important individual positions in football. It is quarterback, offensive tackle, pass catcher, pass rusher, and outside cornerback. Okay? So basically, who wins passing situations? Offensive tackle versus your best edge rusher, receiver versus your best corner, quarterback making the tough decisions, right? So I think for us, we're going to look at this as the present and the future, which is why I say they've done a good job of setting themselves up for the future. Because for the present, you have to be a good player. And I mean a player where you're not really going to have too much of a debate about, well, are they a good player? We're going to move with that, okay? So, for example, when we get to tackle, I don't think he got one. But quarterback's obviously the most important position, and Florida's just absolutely crushed it here. Not in terms of terms of quantity, but in terms of quality. Florida's got Graham Mertz. He's a good quarterback. I don't care. I've said, I think he's limited as far as the NFL goes. I think he's pretty physically capped. And I think that will limit him come time for the NFL draft and everything. But there's no doubt in my mind he's a good quarterback. You know how I know he's a good quarterback? Because I don't say he's not going to get drafted. I don't say he's not going to go to the NFL. I know he's going to get a shot in the NFL. I know he's going to get a fair shot in the NFL. He's probably going to be a draft pick. I just don't think he's going to be an early one. The fact that I'm saying, I know he's going to get drafted, I know he's going to get a shot in the NFL, is good enough to say he's a good player. Because he's not going to get drafted based off his athletic ability. AR went 4th overall, not because of his quarterback play, but because of what he can be with his athletic ability and his skill set. Graham is not going to get drafted for that. Graham Mertz is going to get drafted because he's mechanically sound, he doesn't screw up often, and he's shown that he can show up for you in moments. I remember when Graham Mertz committed to play for Florida. I remember looking at it and saying, and coming on this show and saying, you know what? I don't have anything against Graham. I think he'll be average. I think that he won't lose you games, but I don't think he'll win you games. I don't think he lost you any games last year if you're Florida. There was no game where I go, man, that's on Graham. And part of that's because the defense was so bad that it was easy to say it's on them. Part of that's the offensive line so bad that it's easy to say it's on them. But also part of it's that Graham doesn't make a lot of critical errors. He makes errors. Holds the ball too long, takes a sack, doesn't throw the ball away, things like that. He does. I don't think anybody will deny that he does that. And if you do deny that, you're lying. But he doesn't turn the ball over frequently. He had 3 picks. All of them are tipped by his own players last year. Things like that. And he's shown the ability to lead you, whether he's driving down the field in a crucial moment, or just being your quarterback, keeping you steady. That South Carolina game last year, I've said it. I think that was an important game for Billy Napier because everybody was counting you out. Everybody. And what did your team do? Rallied and didn't stop, didn't quit, and kept the same energy the whole time. There were some lucky breaks. Ball hits Ricky Pearsall's hands, pops up, Trey Wilson dives and catches it. There were some lucky breaks. But to have the mentality to work through that comeback is crucial. So for the present, you've got Graham Mertz. He's your QB. For the future, I'm setting this as objective as possible. The future has to be a blue chip player that has been in college for no longer than 1 season, or a blue chip player that hasn't gotten to college yet. So anyone from the 2023 class, 2024 class, 2025, 6, future, whatever. Anyone from there. So for Florida, 2023 class, no blue chip QB, but 2024 class, the best quarterback in the country. That's who you got. DJ Lagway, of course, you've got that guy. And last time we did this, about 8 months ago, you still had that answer. However, last time we did this, you didn't have another answer because now you have another building block there if you're Florida. Because you've got Will Griffin in 2026. You don't have a kid for 2025, but 2026, you've got Will Griffin. So you've got Graham Mertz, good player. Don't care about any disagreement you have. Good player. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's exceptional. Good player, though. DJ Lagway, blue chip player that's been there for less than a year. It's his first year, right? Will Griffin, blue chip quarterback that hasn't even gotten on campus yet. Quarterback, Florida's done a fantastic job of setting themselves up long-term for success. Other positions, maybe. Not as certain, but maybe. We'll talk about those next on Locked On Gators. GameTime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer that it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, or concert tickets, or college football tickets. Wink, wink. I will be at the Florida game versus Miami. Bought my tickets on GameTime. Yeah. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets at GameTime. Download the GameTime app. Create an account. Use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And this segment, we're going to talk about the rest of the offensive positions. Makes sense, right? We talked about quarterback. We explained the building blocks, the pillar positions, premium positions, whatever you want to call it. Now we're going to pass catcher and offensive tackle. And by pass catcher, I mean receiver. I don't mean tight end. I think tight end, you'd have to be one of one. Like, you'd have to be Kyle Pitts, if you want to call Travis Kelce a tight end. Travis Kelce, he's a slot receiver for me. Things like that, right? Pass catcher, you look at the present. I'm torn. I'll be honest. I'm a little torn on it because Eugene Wilson III, he hasn't been used like an elite wide receiver, right? Eugene Wilson III, as a true freshman last year, as a true freshman All-American, deserves everything. Incredible player with the ball in his hands. What I'm talking about when I say, is he a bona fide good football player that you can't even argue? I don't know. You could definitely say just as a playmaker, absolutely. But as a wide receiver, have we seen him do it frequently? Arkansas was the first game last year where he went downfield and found success. Georgia still underneath, but a little bit further. He ran the dig that he caught and touchdown. I will say Eugene Wilson III. I'm going to give it to Florida here, mostly because I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he could be a good route runner. I just think he wasn't used like one. But as far as talent, I don't really have the question about Trey. It is strictly, what do you have there? What are you going to use him as? That's what it is for me. As far as the future, Trey Wilson counts for that too. His last year is his true freshman season. Jere Hawkins counts for that this season. TJ Abrams, Tawaski Abrams counts as that for this season. Aiden Mizell still counts as it. Burnell Brown III for 2026 for 2025 counts. Joshua Moore for 2025 counts. You've got 6 players at receiver that are blue chip players. Okay? Blue chip players with less than a year of college experience. That's pretty damn good. I don't know if you know that. That's pretty damn good. And there's also guys like Andy Jean who, when he was coming out of high school, it was a big talking point of why isn't he a blue chip player? I don't know, man. I don't make the rules, but he wasn't. But you have players like that where you still feel pretty damn good about them. They're just not blue chip players. Offensive tackle, I am not going to give it to Florida this time. Okay? And here's my reasoning for it. Austin Barber, very high ceiling. I know that a lot of people are really optimistic about what he's going to do this year. And I'm cool with that. I'm not going to fault you for feeling optimistic. I'm not going to fault you for feeling positive about him. However, to this point, I can't say he's a definite good player. I understand he was hurt last year. I get that. Him being hurt last year and playing awful does not mean that because he's healthy, he's going to play great, right? He could be awful. He could be amazing. He could be the best tackle we've seen in Gainesville for a long time. But we don't know that. And so that's where I can't give it to Austin Barber. I simply can't. I can't go, oh yeah, without a doubt, he's going to be a really good player this year. I can't. And you can't either. And if you do say that you can say that, you're lying to yourself. Just know that. Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, San Diego State offensive tackle, very productive career at San Diego State, very good film from San Diego State. But there's that question of, can you go from the Mountain West to the SEC and still pop like that? Can you go from the Mountain West at San Diego State to the SEC and still look as good as you looked at San Diego State? We'll find out. But that alone is a big enough question mark for me to say, I can't definitively say that the answer is yes. So for me, that's where I'm out on that one, where I just can't say it. Or not out. I don't want to seem like I don't think he'll do it. I think both can be pretty good. I think Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon will be good. I think Austin Barber, I said this when he was finishing his redshirt freshman season. I was like, he's got a really high ceiling. He's an athletic tackle. He can do everything physically wise. It's just about putting it together. If he does put it together this year, I'll tell you what, if Austin Barber puts it together this year, he won't be with Florida next year. He will be in the NFL. And he will be a top 80 pick, which is damn good. Future, you've got Fletcher Westphal. 2024 class, you've got a blue chip offensive tackle in Fletcher Westphal, right? And you can look at the 2023 class as well. And at offensive tackle, you have Caden Jones. Caden Jones was a consensus 4-star offensive tackle. That's a blue chip. So you've got 2 blue chip offensive tackles on your roster right now that have been in college for less than a year. You don't have any offensive linemen committed for 2025 or 2026. But as far as, do you have players at those premium positions? Yep. both tackle spots. You could say you have a blue chip player that's considered a future building block. Caden Jones, last year was his freshman year, didn't play. Fletcher Westphal, this year is going to be his freshman year. Highly doubt he plays. But you've got guys that fit the criteria. Again, this is objective. It is not me saying whether or not I think they're going to work out. It is not me saying whether or not anything. It is me saying, are they a blue chip recruit that has been in college less than a year or has not entered college yet and is committed to the Florida Gators? Yes, then that's it. It is not opinion-based at all. So, yeah, because I think pass catcher could be different. Think defensively, we could talk about different things, right? But we're not. We are about to talk about the defense. We do have to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about that next, which I'm really excited for on Locked On Gators. To wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators, we are talking about the pass rusher and the cornerback. And I will say this. Pass rusher. I'm a little more lenient on pass rusher than I am on pass catcher because I think pass catcher at tight end, like you can, because it's pass catcher, you could say tight end, but you need to be an elite tight end. George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, you can go back to Brock Bowers for college, like that kind of game-changing tight end. And I think for recruits, it's really hard to even say any of them can do that. Amir Jackson's really good, but he's a project player. He needs to get college ready. So that's where I fall. But pass rusher, I think a lot of people want to say, who's at edge, right? But I think you can look at just defensive line. Because especially now in football, interior pressure is so valuable. Being able to have a three-tech, a defensive tackle that can rush the passer from the interior is so crucial. Because what's the quickest way from point A to point B? A straight line. When you've got someone on the interior that can get there, that's a really short distance to cover, right? So interior pass rusher has gone up in value. So while people say edge rusher, I like to talk about pass rushers. I look at it similar to tight end, but not as egregious, right? Like tight end, I'm talking about, do you have a Kyle Pitts, a George Kittle, a Travis Kelce, if you want to talk about them as the guys that you're bringing up. But I think when we look at the interior defensive line, you can look at guys like, I mean, there's obviously the Aaron Donalds that you can talk about, and you can go, okay, well, them maybe. But you also could look at guys that are more situational because it's just having a good pass rusher at those spots. Not saying someone who, plays 15% of your snaps, 20% of your snaps, but someone who's out there for 55, 60% of them. That he's there for most of your snaps. He's a really good pass rusher at some spots. Maybe he's not thought of as a game-changing defensive lineman, but he's up there. Like Leonard Williams is a damn good pass rusher from the interior, but you're not going to talk about him as a future franchise player or anything like that, right? So I think that when you look at the defensive line, presently, none. And I don't think you can argue that. Princely Monmiello left. He would be a guy that we'd say, yep, presently, Princely. I think he counts. Elite pass rusher. And I know that a lot of people hate him. I don't think you could argue he's an elite pass rusher. But as far as who you have, proven, nobody. Proven production pass rusher, you don't have it. Caleb Banks had your second most pressures last year, and he had half the pressures Princely had. And it's not because, he was getting so much attention. No, he wasn't that good last year. Last year was his first year playing any significant snaps. He was very inconsistent. Showed good flashes, but very inconsistent. This year, hoping he put it together more. So present, I don't think you have a guy that you could say, yep, definitely a good pass rusher. Tyreek Sapp and Justice Boone, no. Justice Boone's got like 300 snaps played in his career. Tyreek Sapp has not flashed enough. Future, Kelby Collins, Cameron James, TJ Searcy, LJ McCray is here now. Jalen Wiggins is committed for the 2025 class. The future, you've got a lot of guys you could talk about there. The future, hell yeah. There's a lot of people that you can go, yep, that guy's going to be the real deal pass rusher that we have, right? Because odds are one of them's going to hit. Kelby Collins is playing the 3-tech spot. You could be an elite premium pass rusher from the 3-tech spot. We just had a conversation about that. You could do that. TJ Searcy starting at Jack this year, hopefully. Ceiling? Ooh, way up there. TJ Searcy, if he reaches expectations, this year he's going to be considered a damn good pass rusher. LJ McCray, top defensive lineman in the country last year. Guess what? He's a damn good pass rusher. That's what he's supposed to be doing, right? Jalen Wiggins, supposed to be a really good pass rusher. All these guys that we're talking about, we go, yeah, they're blue chip players. Like, they fit that spot. For the future, absolutely. That further goes to what I said earlier. You've got guys at every position. You do. For the future, you've got guys. Your present, you might not have right now. Present, so far, we're 2 for 2, right? Or 2 and 2. We've got QB, we got pass catcher. We don't have offensive tackle. We don't have edge rusher or pass rusher. So far, you're 2 for 2 in present. The future, every single position has multiple players. That's important. That matters. And there's outside corner. I specify outside corner because you're not frequently thinking of your star, your slot corner in college as your best corner. They don't typically shadow in college. But outside corner, do you have a proven guy? I don't think so. Jason Marshall's film has been wildly inconsistent. He ended 2023 on a strong note. He did. He had some flashes in 2023, but he also had the Will Shepherd face mask play, which I understand. Yeah, got a finger in the face mask. He was recovered by the time the ball got to Will Shepherd, and he was complaining to the ref about it. Tennessee, he just got straight up beat, whiffed on his press, touchdown. He's had a lot of negative moments. You can't be considered a definitive good player there if you've got as many negative moments as Jason Marshall has had. Devin Moore's film, really good. You can't be considered a definitive, really good football player, really good building block if you're not healthy. How are you supposed to be a pillar player if you're never holding up everybody else? If you're never holding up the foundation of the program, you can't be. So no, presently you don't have one. However, for the future, which again, blue chip player at the position, and I love this one, blue chip player at the position with less than one or less seasons in college football. 2023 class, 2024 class, 2025 and beyond. Jakeem Jackson, 2023 class. Deshaun Johnson, 2023 class. Cormani McClain, 2023 class. Jameer Grimsley, 2024 class. Nobody in 2025 class. Got little drip Jalen Waters in the 2026 class. You've got guys, multiple future building blocks at every single position if you're Florida. Present might be rough, but as far as just the pure roster building aspect of this, future-wise, you're setting yourself up in damn good position. That deserves to be acknowledged. That deserves credit. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow. We're talking Florida and Miami. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I will see you all next time.